How can kindness get you into so much trouble? It started when Mother dropped into sickness and I was left on my own. No, before that, when the war came and Father, a major in the British Indian Army who led a battalion of Gurkha rifles, went off to the war. The battalion was sent to fight in countries I had never heard of and whose names I couldn't spell. It wasn't as if Mother and I were alone. There were all the servants, gardeners, sweepers, cooks, servers, and Father's sais, his groom, who had nothing to do since Father was away, but out of kindness, Mother would not let him go because he had a family to support. Ranjit was the Burra Mali, the head of all the servants, and Amina was my ayah. Though at my age, I was much too old to have a nursemaid, so Amina was really Mother's lady's maid. Mother's English friends were often in and out of our house with criticisms of me disguised as kindness. Mrs. Cartwright said, "Rosalind is such an original child. I don't know that I have ever seen a girl's hair worn in quite that way. My hair grows and grows like the leaves on a rain tree. I won't tie it back neatly or wear a band. Worst of all, I go outside in the Indian sun without a hat." Mrs. Cartwright had something to say about that as well. "The sun will turn Rosalind into a regular Indian. Soon you won't be able to tell her from your servants. It's a pity she wasn't sent home." Mother only drew her lips into a straight line to keep from telling Sybil Cartwright to mind her own business. Though I have never been there, home, of course, is England. India is considered dangerous for children, and the schools here for us English are looked down upon. The minute the Cartwright children got to be 6 years old, they were packed off and sent to live with relatives in England so they could attend proper schools. I heard Mrs. Cartwright reading letters from them to Mother. The dear little things sounded so brave, but you could tell they were miserable away from their mother and father. They described horrible dishes of boiled cabbage and winter so cold they had to wear gloves indoors to keep from getting chilblains. I should have been suffering in England as well, but luckily Mother refused to let me go. When Father tried to insist, she got all shaky and sobbed, and the doctor had to be sent for. She wouldn't let me go because the saddest thing in the world had happened. My brother, Edward, who died before I was born, was sent to school in England when he was 7. On vacations from his boarding school, he stayed with my mother's 2 sisters, Aunt Louise and Aunt Ethel. Neither of the sisters had married. They lived alone in the house left to them by my grandparents. In Edward's first year at school, there was a diphtheria epidemic. 2 boys died. Edward was one of them. Mother told me all about it, and even showed me the letters Aunt Louise and Aunt Ethel had sent telling of the sad news. The most tender letter in the world from Aunt Louise, and a mournful letter from Aunt Ethel that gave much distress and little comfort. Because he was buried in England, Mother has never even seen his grave. Each year as his birthday comes around, she must be content to put flowers in a vase in Edward's room. The room is kept exactly as it was before he went to England. The door to the room is closed, and Amina, who keeps it tidy, is the only one allowed inside. But I have stolen into the room and seen his clothes, his cricket bat, his pictures of England's cricket team, and his teddy bear worn on the ears because he sucked on them. When I was little, I used to think his ghost had come back and lived in there. I was afraid it was angry with me because I had taken my brother's place. When Father or Mrs. Cartwright talked of the dangers right here in India, dangers like cholera and malaria and typhoid fever, Mother said England was even more dangerous, and look at what happened to Edward. When I came along only a few months after Edward died, she swore she would never let me out of her sight. Up until now, I had not been worried about being sent away. After the war started, there were no ships to take me to England. I had caught myself being almost glad of a war that kept me safe in India. Then I told myself I was hateful, for every day in the Times of India there were long columns naming British soldiers who had been killed. What if one day Father's name should appear on this list? I promised God I would go to England any time he wanted me to, and eat boiled cabbage if he spared Father.